What if the biggest threat to Bubba Wallace's championship run wasn't another driver, but something inside him? One split second. One shove.
Lap 323 af Mortensville Speedway.
And just like that, everything changed. But here's the real question. Was it just a mistake, or something deeper? It was March 29, 2026. The Cookout 400. Martinsville, the tightest track on the schedule, where tempers boil fast and there's nowhere to hide. Bubba Wallace was stuck all day, running mid-pack, hovering around 12th to 15th. Not terrible, but not good enough for someone sitting third in the standings. Then came the restart. Turn 3. Contact with Carson Hocevar. Once, maybe racing. But then again. Harder. And suddenly, chaos. Cars spinning. Smoke everywhere. Race over. Wallace finished 36th. Dead last. But here's what made people pause. Why hit him twice? Because at Martinsville, drivers know the line. One bump happens. 2 bumps. That sends a message. The onboard footage didn't help. The throttle stayed down. The entry looked aggressive. The contact escalated, not eased off. That's not something that just happens. So now the question shifted. Not what happened, but why did it happen like that? After the race, Wallace called it a misjudgment. Said he misread the corner. Said it wasn't intentional. But the replay told a different story. Even the broadcast booth went quiet before speaking. You could feel it. Something didn't add up. And then, one voice in NASCAR said exactly what many were thinking. Richard Petty. But why did his words hit harder than anyone else's? To understand that, you have to understand Bubba Wallace himself. Born in Mobile, Alabama, raised in North Carolina, he was racing before most kids could drive. By 12, he had 35 wins in a single year. He climbed through the ranks fast. Made history. Broke barriers. Became a symbol in the sport. And when he joined 23XI Racing, co-owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, expectations skyrocketed. He delivered too. Wins at Talladega, Kansas, even the Brickyard. So how does a driver like that end up in a moment like Martinsville? That's where Richard Petty stepped in. On his podcast, he didn't hesitate. He didn't soften it. He said what he saw. That wasn't just racing. That was aggressive. Avoidable. Too much. And coming from the king, that kind of judgment carries weight. He's seen everything in this sport. So when he reacts instantly, people listen. But here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. The criticism didn't stop there. Because while Richard focused on the wreck, Kyle Petty went somewhere deeper. He talked about pressure. Internal pressure. The kind that builds quietly. And he pointed to something no one in the garage wanted to say out loud. Teammates. Inside 23XI Racing, Wallace isn't alone. He shares the garage with Tyler Reddick. And in 2026, Reddick was on fire. 3 wins to start the season. 4 out of 6 races. Dominating. Every headline. Every camera. And right next to him, Wallace, stuck mid-pack. Same equipment. Same team. Different results. So what happens when frustration builds like that? Kyle Petty called it double frustration. A bad race day, plus watching your teammate dominate. That combination? Dangerous. Because in NASCAR, your first rival isn't the guy in another car. It's the one in identical equipment. And when that pressure boils over, it looks a lot like Martinsville. But here's the twist. Even Wallace's own camp didn't defend him. His spotter, Freddie Kraft, didn't sugarcoat it. He called it costly. Self-inflicted. Said mistakes like that can't happen if you want to be a contender. And the numbers back it up. Wallace dropped from 3rd in the standings to effectively outside the top 10. In one race. One moment. So now you have to ask, was that just a bad decision, or a sign of something cracking? Even Kevin Harvick saw it in real time. He said Wallace drove straight through Hocevar. Said it looked like anger, not calculation. And that's the part that sticks. Because racing at this level isn't just about speed. It's about control. Emotional control. Lose that, even for a second, and everything falls apart. But can Wallace recover from that? Because before Martinsville, his season looked strong. Consistent finishes. Top 3 in points. A real championship threat. The team had speed. The momentum was there. But NASCAR doesn't forgive moments like this easily. One bad race hurts. 2 in a row. That can derail everything. And more than that, the garage remembers. Drivers remember who races clean. And who doesn't. So the next time Wallace is in traffic, will they trust him? Or race him harder, expecting another mistake? That's the ripple effect. It doesn't just cost points. It changes how the entire field sees you. And in a sport built on trust at 180 miles per hour, that might be the biggest loss of all. So now it comes down to one thing. Not the car. Not the strategy. But what's happening inside Bubba Wallace's head. Martinsville didn't just take his race. It held up a mirror. And what it showed wasn't a champion in control. It was a driver under pressure. So what happens next? Does he learn from it? Or spiral further? Because the answer to that question might decide his entire 2026 season.